Sorry, for interrupting. I just wanted to do the unveiling first, if that's cool.
The unveiling of what?
Okay, everybody, are you ready? Bam!
All right, what's up?
What's going on?
Oh, well, I got into really good shape. Am I hitting the light right?
What's happening?
Why?
Why?
I don't know, I thought maybe we could use it.
Welcome back to Kirill Smashes Acting. I'm Kirill, actor, educator, cat enthusiast. Much like a lot of people who watch my videos, I too am getting ready to go back to school. I'm getting ready to go back to teaching undergraduate classes in the fall, and boy, what a trip I'm in for. I know a lot of you who watch my videos were in class when the pandemic started. So a lot of you had to go from in-person to remote learning. Now that the fall is coming up, every single one of us is about to approach learning from a slightly different angle. The state where I teach has me doing hybrid courses, meaning part of the lessons for the students will be done online and at home, while the other half will be done in class. A lot of you who watch my videos are going back to school as students, and you might be worried because you feel like your learning isn't going as far as it did before the pandemic. So for all of you who are not sure how to get ready to get back into the classroom or get back into the virtual classroom, today's video is all about what you can do starting right now to get yourself ready to not just learn, but to maximize your potential when you do go back to class. I want to first cover the things you need to do on your computer right now to make sure that when you do start going back to class, you have the best experience possible. The first thing you want to do is declutter your computer. Go through everything and get rid of all the files that you don't need anymore. Whether we like it or not, online learning is part of our current future. So prep your computer to handle that as best as possible. All the files that you don't need are just going to slow you down. So get rid of all the clutter that you have, whether it's on your desktop, in your file manager, get rid of it. Get your computer to the best possible capabilities that you can. Once you've got rid of all of your excess files and decluttered your computer, now it's time to get yourself familiar with the program you'll be using when you do go back to class. For some of you, that's Microsoft Teams. For others, that's Google Meet or maybe even Zoom. Find out which program your school is going to be using and start becoming an expert in that program. Google tips and tricks for that program. Find out how to record for that program. Early on in the pandemic, I would get a lot of emails from my students asking about topics that we've covered. Little did they know that Zoom has a record feature where they could have easily gone back to any point in the lecture. Whichever program your school has, do whatever you can to master it. One of the biggest reasons it's important to do your research on whichever program you're going to be using is to help you troubleshoot. One way or another, eventually, you'll get to the point where you're having some issues trying to get into a lecture, and you don't want to miss the information, especially if you're going to be tested on it. Learning how to both use and troubleshoot the program will help you get so much more out of these virtual lessons than if you just sat at your computer and stared at your screen. The next part of getting your computer ready is testing different transfer platforms. What I mean by transfer platforms is any program that lets you transfer large files from one computer to another. You might have to send your instructor or a classmate you're collaborating with some large files that you've recorded. Without some of these transfer platforms, it's quite difficult to do that. I always use WeTransfer. I use WeTransfer to send audition tapes to my agent if I'm not sending it directly to the casting director. WeTransfer lets you email the person you're trying to send files to directly, or it lets you create a link to send to anybody in any different platform you wish, and as soon as they click on that link, their download will begin. This lets you transfer things up to 2 gigabytes for free. Some other great programs are Send Anywhere and Sendy. I use Send Anywhere to send files to people on phones or tablets anytime they don't have a regular PC to try to download a file from. All three of these are great programs and completely free to use up to a certain point. As a student, as long as you're transferring files under 2 gigs, you should be fine with the free options, but do check out their premium options because they might be useful to you. The next thing you have to think about is setting up your home studio. I know this is hard for a lot of people. It's really hard for me. My wife is working from home, I have all of my pets, and of course I foster animals. So between all that, it is really hard for me to get some space to just think about what I need to do. If you really want to maximize your growth during this time, find a way to separate yourself some space. Obviously, it's great if you have a room or if people in your home don't work, but if you don't have a separate office, use your bedroom, use a larger bathroom, use anywhere where you can get some space and some room to stretch. One of the biggest traps for acting students right now is that everything they're going to learn is only going to be learned intellectually. Anytime you're learning new acting methods, you have to get your body involved. So it's critical that you give yourself some space to move around and some privacy to try to learn and possibly fail at some new techniques. Make it part of your routine. Pick a half hour or an hour per day that you know you're going to practice whatever you're learning. You can't just listen to new information, get notes from your teachers and hope, wow, that's going to make me a better actor. The reality is, you have to find time to practice and to rehearse. So schedule it. Even if your time changes from day to day, pick a time during almost every day and stick to it. The more your practice becomes your routine, the more growth you're going to see. If at all possible, your acting space should have some space to move around in. I use a small bedroom as my acting space, and even though there's not a lot of room, the fact that I can get some momentum going across the room really does make my work so much more effective. So if you can get some space, great, but I know it's not always that simple. The next two things on this list are mostly optional. Number one, get yourself a microphone. I use a simple Blue Yeti USB mic. I got the mic for under $100, and my communication through Zoom or Google Meet or Microsoft Teams has improved greatly. It helps so much to know that the person you're talking to can actually hear you, and hopefully hear you clearly. The other optional piece of equipment is a high-quality webcam. If you have a webcam that has a decent width on the lens, you're going to be able to capture a lot of your space that you might move through. This will give you the opportunity to both move through the space while learning. For example, I have to teach a voice and movement class, so it will make a huge difference if my students can move around on camera for me. And having a wider angle lens webcam will also help you practice and record your practice sessions. By recording your practice session, especially if you're practicing or rehearsing for an audition that's coming, having the ability to go back and self-reflect on what did work and what didn't work will give you so much more power over your own growth as an actor. This last segment is all about setting up your instrument for success. Number one, warm up your mind as a storyteller. Go back and watch those movies you love, watch those TV shows you love, and just enjoy the story. Self-reflect on what about each story touches you. Is it the conflict that gets you going? Is it the relationships that make you angry or make you sad or move you? Find out what it is about these stories that get you in the feels. Then start watching them again as the storyteller. Try to use this time to work on tactics, objectives, and obstacles. Pick a favorite movie, episode, or even something as small as a scene, and start to break it down. Pick a character and figure out their objective, tactics, obstacles, what might be going through their head to motivate them to get what they want. Once you've started to watch these films and started to warm up your mind as a storyteller, now it's time to warm up your instrument. Find stories that move you. Whether that's anger, laughter, rage, grief, it doesn't matter. But find something that genuinely affects you and start to watch these stories while working on allowing yourself to be affected. So if you find yourself clamping up, practice relaxing and opening. Try to allow your instrument to go to the extremes of all the different things you might feel while watching a moving piece of art. Don't stop yourself. Let it go as far as you can. This is warming up your instrument. Now that we've gotten our mind back into a storytelling mode, and we started to get our internal life to be more active and flexible, now it's time to get your body into the work. Start doing your warm-up. Do your physical warm-up. Do your vocal warm-up. Do your actor warm-up. That means start from fresh. Warm up your body, warm up your voice, and then practice dropping into character and dropping out of character. Start figuring out how your instrument works now. That way, you have something to try to grow from. But if you don't know where your instrument is before you start your classes, there's no way that you can maximize your own growth because you don't know what direction you want to push yourself. The biggest thing I could tell you is start creating your actor routine now. You do not want to start your classes and warm your way up into the routine. Since you won't have as much time in person with your teachers as you'd like, you need to be ready before classes start. So those are the things you need to think about. Start with the easy one. Get your computer and your software ready. Then, get your space ready. And most importantly, get yourself ready. Hope you enjoyed that video. Hit the like button, hit subscribe, share this video with somebody who might enjoy it, or maybe with a student who's kind of nervous about going back to school. If you have any questions, let us know in the comment section. Let me know what you're doing to get ready to get back into the school session. But for now, say goodnight, Poofy. Good night, Poofy.